people either pushing something under the rug or laying in it like a hot tub. So can you think of any areas of your life that you are really just not wanting to see or deal with, and so you're pushing them under the rug? It might be that you've been doing it so long, you don't even notice it anymore.
On Stories of Self, we go on journeys into the lives of ourselves and others. We see how stories connect, how they diverge, and how we can create our worlds and solve our problems. This is the real-life remix of storytelling, which is so often stranger than fiction. So come and sit round the fire, chill by the ocean, or get a coffee with me, as I delve into the stories of self that make, break, and remake us. Some stories are dramatic, some are serene, some will magically mirror you, and some will be delightfully different. I'm your host, Katie Reeve-Arnold, and this is Stories of Self.
Hi, and welcome to Stories of Self. It's been a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be between filming different episodes, because I ended up with losing my voice, actually, such a sore throat, I lost my voice. And it's kind of interesting because whenever that kind of thing happens to me, whenever I feel under the weather, I always try to ask myself, is this real? Am I just trying to avoid something by having this kind of experience that then I see as a block, I see as something that's stopping me from proceeding in the way I had planned or that I thought I would? And, sometimes I do find that it's just me blocking myself. And other times I obviously find that it's a real kind of health issue. And looking between those things, they're kind of looking at the difference between whether this is a true kind of issue that I need to honor in my soul, or whether this is some kind of ego fabricated kind of blockade that I'm part suffering but part creating, So yeah, with my voice, it was really interesting for me because I have thought about this for a while. I actually did a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago about that idea of when you try to speak your truth and when you try to speak openly as you, sometimes your voice can kind of falter, can break, can kind of become wobbly. You can start finding that you have to swallow a lot, or you can find that you suddenly have a frog in your throat, or you suddenly have a little cough, or, these kinds of things, because you're bringing that fear of being truly who you are. And that judgment that potentially comes from, maybe something in childhood where you were expressing who you were and someone judged you for it, or someone found you bad or wrong for it, or it didn't go the way you wanted, and you didn't know how to deal with it then. And so what you did was you told yourself, well, the way I can have control over this is I can just not express myself. I can just not be me. I can be who they want me to be, instead of being me, and so it's that kind of question, am I truly having this issue, or am I somehow trying to stop myself? And it's probably sometimes a bit of both, because what I realized with losing my voice now was that I think it just gave me a chance to ask myself, what am I giving voice to? We only have so much time in life. We only have so much energy. It's very noticeable, actually, that we only have so much decision-making power in a day. Do you ever notice that? Do you ever get this kind of decision fatigue as the day goes on? You start off in the morning and you're all kind of, okay, this, and you're making decisions, and everything is flying. And it seems like it's going to carry on like that. That's just how it is. But sometimes as the day goes on, your kind of capacity to sit with and deal with that and flow with that and do it as quickly just kind of wanes. So decision fatigue is fairly common. And one of the ways we can deal with that is we can actually structure our day differently. So instead of, it's so tempting, isn't it? I did it today, actually. Instead of pushing all the menial tasks into first thing in the morning and getting them all done, we actually try to do some of the more important tasks first thing when our decision-making skills are at their height. So when we have not got decision fatigue, so that we're actually moving through those important things first before the decision fatigue slots in, before it kind of presents itself. And then in the later part of the day, when we're suffering from that decision fatigue, we're actually just doing the menial tasks where it doesn't really matter as much, it can be difficult to make it work like that. And obviously we falter. Obviously we move away from that sometimes. We're not like it every day. Even if we try and make that pattern part of our lives, there'll be some days, like me today, when I got up and I did all the menial tasks. Well, it probably would have been better if I'd done that the other way around. But I can't redo this morning. What I can do is notice it with compassion and kind of laugh at myself, kind of be like, okay, well, I see why I did that, because I haven't actually been well. I genuinely, have had an illness over the past week or so. And lost my voice for some days. So I was just giving myself a little bit of free, easy time, I was a bit tired still and I was giving myself some free, easy time. So that's okay as well. It's not about never wandering away from what's ideal or what you want to be. It's about noticing it and feeling it and heading back towards it in the future choices you make, So really what I wanted to look at today was the kind of juxtaposition I think I've felt in my life, and I can see in other people all around me, and I find people often come to me and to talk about, which is people either pushing something under the rug or laying in it like a hot tub. So can you think of any areas of your life that you are really just not wanting to see or deal with? And so you're pushing them under the rug. It might be that you've been doing it so long, you don't even notice it anymore. It might even be something that extends beyond you. It's very popular and common in families to actually do that, to have these things in families that families just don't speak about. And so they push these things under the rug. And everybody's walking over this lumpy rug all the time. Everyone's walking around it because you can't even use it anymore. There's so much stuffed under it. But at the same time, it can be a collective acceptance that no, we're not lifting that rug. We're not looking under there, And so we can either do that in groups, we can do that in families, or we can do it in our own lives, But it's really important to notice where we're doing it. And I think also, it's so much easier to see this when someone else does it to you than it is necessarily to see it when you do it to someone else. But hey, let's have a look and see. Have you ever seen when somebody comes to you and points something out about you and your life that they're saying is not good, that they're not happy with, and you think to yourself, well, hang on, I think the old phrase my grandmother used to use was the pot calling the kettle black, the idea being they're both black because they both get heated in the fire, So it's that idea that somebody's coming and saying something to you about that they don't like in your life, but actually you can see that they have that in their life too. Maybe they have it in their life even more than you have it in your life. And that's them projecting their issue onto you. So it can often come up in relation to pushing things under the carpet or laying in things like it's a hot tub, I've definitely had friends who have said to me that in pursuing their own mental health, they've had, and this has happened to me too, by the way, they've had people come up to them and say, oh, but, you're just taking this too far now. You're just lazing in this now. You're just, you're all about this now. You really need to move past this now. You can't just sit in it. You can't just, as I said, lay in it like a hot tub. You can't just bed down in this and go on about it all the time. And it's like, well, realistically, I mean, if they're doing it for years, then yes, maybe with no progress whatsoever. But actually, people do need a little bit of time in something, and often they need time in stillness. So often one of the reasons why we have these issues that we need to go back and think about and resolve for ourselves, resolve, right? One of the reasons we need to do that is because we had trauma around them. And the trauma around them comes not from necessarily whatever it was, but it comes from the fact that we weren't able to deal with it at the time. So at the time, we didn't sit in it. At the time, we kind of processed it as much as we could, but we didn't really have the tools. We didn't have the capacity for some reason, And this can be from very serious things to really very menial things. It just depends if you had the capacity to process it at the time. And obviously, the younger we are, the less capacity we have to process, the less life experience we have, the less we actually recognize that there can be errors and issues outside of ourselves. The more we are prone to turn around and just fixate on this as being a problem caused by us, fixate on how we can rectify ourselves to change this thing that we don't know how to process, rather than actually noticing that maybe it had very little to do with us, And so because these things are things that were kind of pushed under the rug or not processed, not having the ability to process them at the time, it then means that, yeah, maybe we do want to go back to them in the future. And maybe when we go back to them in the future, maybe we don't want to rush through them. Maybe we do want to take a little bit of time for stillness and to actually recognize that we can be in this, we can be around this, we can be in the passage of moving through this, but it no longer feels like a trauma, or it's no longer negatively affecting us like it did at the time, because even though it was once traumatic, it maybe still feels traumatic, but we're developing the capacity to process it. And particularly when you sit and talk with people about that, I have people come to me all the time and to talk about those kinds of things. And yeah, okay, you sit there and you talk with someone about it for an hour, or maybe more, maybe several sessions, And this is your time taken to process that. And it's not that you're wallowing it like a hot tub. It's that you're taking that moment to rest. You're not going to stay there forever, but you're taking that moment to show yourself that, hang on, although at the time it didn't feel okay to be here, now we can return to this, and it can actually be safe and okay to return to it, because it can be safe and okay to notice that we didn't have some tools and experience and capacity at the time that we do have now, that we're different people returning to this than we were going through it the first time, and that actually we can gain more from it and move forward through it, bringing it with us in a way, because we can't erase our past, but bringing it with us meaning something very different than it would have if we'd never gone back to it. Now, it's not always true. People don't always need to necessarily return to things in order to process them. Not every little thing needs to be gone over or raked out from under that rug and processed. But I would say that, you're never going to be able to walk smoothly across a smooth surface with nothing under the rug unless you bring it all out. It doesn't mean you have to hold everything up to the light, and it doesn't mean you have to go through and wallow and sit in every episode like a hot tub, but there may be some key things that just help you to process the whole lot. And then all of a sudden, those things aren't huge in your life anymore. All of a sudden, you look back on them in a very different way than you once did. Maybe you didn't even notice them. Maybe you looked back and you didn't notice what in your past was actually making the choices for you and forming your future by acting on you in the present, because you'd never resolved it in the past. And that's really where help can come in, to help you to really see what it is that might be causing you that issue, to help draw your attention to what it is that it might be worthwhile to spend a little time sitting in, so that you can spend a lot of time being past it, instead of staying where you are in relation to it, because it's causing an impact on every day of your life, whether you see it or not. That belief you have that it's gone to create is shaping your reality now and in the future. So we can make changes in our lives, and we can try to be a bit active with that clearing things out from under the rug. I think we've all got elements in our lives where we tend to find ourselves clinging to things. I found another one this week. When I had no voice, I looked to do things that didn't require a voice. And one of the things I ended up looking at was my email inbox. Oh, whoa. I definitely had a problem not letting go in my email inbox. Although I had worked on this in like many other areas of my life, I found a serious problem in my email inbox, because, I was relatively easily able to find 45,000 emails that needed to be deleted. And that's not even all of them. There's 26,000 or so left, But the fact that I could relatively easily find 45,000 plus emails that could be deleted, it took so long for the actual program to actually manage to work through deleting all of those. It showed me that I was really just by default clinging to stuff that I didn't really need to be. And I knew that my email inbox was really full, but it wasn't full. So I knew that I'd stuffed things under the rug there. I knew that it doesn't always have to be important stuff that you're pushing away, but it's just in not dealing with it, it grows, it compounds, it adds together over time to give you a bigger and bigger problem that can actually kind of sit and be a bit weighty on you without you even noticing. I didn't notice how heavy having all of those emails was until when I hit delete and I could see them disappearing. It felt like a light was going on in me, like a weight was being lifted, because I didn't realize I was having a physical experience of all these online, non-tangible, like you can't touch them, things that I was keeping. And I think this might actually be true of a lot of people. We think about that a lot in relation to the clutter in our houses, right? We know that in hoarding, it's an example, like hoarding, holding on to lots of things. It's an example of where in life people maybe haven't felt safe and secure. And so they're holding on to these things because they have a fear of letting go of them. They have an issue feeling safe and secure once they're not surrounded by these things. And that can come up for any number of reasons. And, if you do have problems with hoarding, I totally understand that. I've both been at points in my life where I was a complete hoarder, and I've been at points in my life where I was pushing things away from me so fast that I almost had to stop. I actually had to stop myself, because I was getting rid of things automatically that I actually wanted to keep. I would have been desperately unhappy and sad had I got rid of them in the future. So I went from one pole to the other in the past. And so I had to then work to find a happy medium, wherein I don't hoard anymore, but I also allow myself to keep the things that are really important to me, And of course that changes over time as well. So I can really feel that. And if you do have problems with that, then you can always get in touch with us at Soul Therapy Help. So you can check out our website actually, soultherapyhelp.com. And just drop us a message, drop us a line, and we're happy to help you with that kind of stuff as well. Because it really can mirror your nervous system. What you do and how you keep the things in your life, how you interact with your home, how you interact with the things you keep, the things you throw away, it can really mirror your nervous system. And as I said, I have experience of that where I was keeping everything because couldn't feel safe without it. But then I have also experience of throwing everything away from me. So that kind of opposition that can come in. All or nothing, that comes from an issue with a kind of all or nothing perspective. I have to keep it all, went to I'm not allowed to keep anything, I can't let myself have anything. And so obviously we want some kind of happy medium in the middle. And I would never want to put myself forward as somebody who is perfect, because I am just the perfectly evolving version of me. Yeah, we all are, actually. So there is no one set of perfection that we're supposed to attain, although in school that's kind of drummed into us, right? We're supposed to be a certain kind of student, we're supposed to live a certain kind of life. But that's not true. Wherever you're at, it's all about being the best version of yourself that you can be at that time. And that best version is going to change as you move through life and as you move through the things you're processing. But it's about stepping into it where you are. And so whether that's in clearing out your house or your handbag or your car or your inbox, your email inbox, wherever it is, it's a fantastic place to start. I actually set myself a little task because I saw these emails start to drop back in, and I realized how many of them, like I said, thousands of them I easily deleted. I should say that this was from 20 years of my life. So 20 years of running my life and my business from this one email address. This is not like I didn't accrue those emails in a matter of weeks. This was like a long-term kind of issue and a long-term accrue. And it was a long-term thing to get rid of. Yeah, it was I got rid of that from a long time in my past. But what I decided was actually I should go from the root right now. I shouldn't let it all come back at me. And so what I've declared for myself as a goal for the last week of July and for the whole of August is actually to unsubscribe. To unsubscribe from at least 3 things a day on average. So that by the end of August, I should have unsubscribed from over 100 subscription services. Now, it's not if I want to stay subscribed to them, if I'm finding value in them, but if I'm not. And that buzzing you just heard in the background, that was my phone ringing. And when I answered it, because it was an unknown number, and sometimes those things can be important, often not, but sometimes yeah. That was another subscription service that I had unknowingly somehow signed up to, that I was able to unsubscribe from. So getting rid of these things from my life is really going to buy back my time. It's going to buy back my focus. It's going to buy back my attention, okay? And it's going to buy it back so that I can apply this in future to the things I do want to focus my attention on. So it's not about unsubscribing from everything in life. It's not about cutting myself off or separating myself from life. It's about noticing where maybe I subscribed to something 10 years ago and that's not who I am anymore. I'm not interested anymore. Maybe I subscribed to something because I thought it was going to be one thing, but it turned out to be another. I'm sure a lot of us have done that. But it's about opening up that window by unsubscribing from those things that are no longer a match for me, so that I can subscribe and focus on the things that are a match for me. So if you fancy joining me on this, try it. Try spending the whole of August unsubscribing from 3 subscription service emails a day that are not working for you. Because at that point, hopefully, you'll find there's a lot fewer emails dropping into your inbox that you have to, almost without opening them, delete. And that's going to help you feel a lot lighter and freer. So whether it's cleaning up your house, cleaning up your car, or cleaning up your email inbox, it's worth it to help yourself feel more free.
We are all telling our stories, and we are all telling ourselves stories about it all. Are you brave enough to walk with me into hearing, considering, and understanding the stories we tell? Join me next time, where we'll be considering more stories and illusions and stepping into creating the freedom we desire. Every moment, we are who we are choosing to be. You choose. Choose you. Because your story matters.